Hey everyone. Hello. Hey everyone. Hello. As you're jumping on, type live. When you're catching the replay, type replay. Today I want to dive into the topic of weight gain over 40. And it really doesn't matter if it's perimenopause or menopause. How many of you women specifically have experienced weight gain over 40 that sometimes is unexpected? So this is going to be a good conversation for two types of person. There is that woman that is over 40 and you've got a pretty good fitness routine down. You've got your food pretty decent. You've got workouts going, and yet unexpectedly, your weight starts to shift and you start to put weight on, especially maybe in your midsection. And this is also going to be helpful for the type of woman who maybe, if we're honest, you know that your health habits haven't been where you want them to be and you have weight to lose and you know you could change some habits. You're just not sure what to do, how and where to start and all those kinds of things. Truly, whether you fall into one of those two categories, you're going to find value in today's conversation. For those of you who don't know, I'm Coach Rebecca Tabbert, and I have my own transformation story. I will give you the quick summary so you know a little bit about why this might work for you or why you might want to listen to what I have to say. I am a former atheist, overweight corporate girl turned fiercely fit. I should say first, Jesus loving, because through that, and in and through me, God then helped me go from feeling uncomfortable in my own body, being overweight, struggling with emotional eating eating disorder, to being then fiercely fit. And that transformation so dramatically changed not just my life, but every aspect of my life. And at the time, I was a single mom. You want to talk about reasons not to do it? I had them all. And those became my reasons why I must do something, why I must change. So in that journey of becoming this next iteration of just a strength from the inside out that I never even imagined from where I started, I then not only transformed my life, but I'm trying to keep this short, but later on, a few years after that initially started, I followed God's prompting to equip and empower other women. And I've been a coach for over 13 years now, which is crazy pants. With the help of an amazing team, we've helped thousands change their lives, with health and fitness being the foundation. I know that health and fitness is the foundation that rises all other ships. Now, specifically over the last decade, having just turned 50, it's brought in a new twist that I'm happy to have experienced, because although it is not fun all the time, it has become another thing that I get to teach forward. So today we're going to talk about perimenopause symptoms. We're going to talk about that weight gain over 40. I'm going to talk about the shifts, the symptoms, which some of them you may not be aware of. You're very aware of the weight gain. That's why you're leaning in today. You may not be aware of some of the other symptoms that could be tied to perimenopause. And then we'll talk about some solutions. Now, quick caveat, clearly I am not a PhD. I am not a doctor. I am not trying to give you medical advice. I'm going to share with you what my experience is. And whenever I experience something, I like to kind of nerd out on it and learn about it so that I can learn how to create solutions and how to work through it. And clearly, as a fit pro over 40, I did not want to continue to put the weight on. And there was a period of time where not only was the weight coming on, but some of my symptoms included not really understanding what was going on and not sure how to navigate it, not even at times having the motivation or the drive. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that and about how in the last couple of years I've transitioned, shifted all of that and back to getting leaner and stronger and fitter than I've ever been, now at 50 than the last 20 years of training. And so with that, I'm going to dive right in. For those of you that are watching live, type live in the comments. If you're watching replay, type #afterparty. I will tell you that if you are joining us on Instagram, this live will not save your comments. So if you want to join our Facebook community, if you happen to be on Facebook and you want to join our community, then send me a message, type community, and I'll send you a DM with the link to join us on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook and you want to be able to catch these replays, there's also a podcast, so you can DM me the word podcast and I'm happy to get you the links to my Kingdom Fit podcast where this will be shared. But today we're going to jump into the unexpected weight gain over 40, and it can be incredibly frustrated. Reality is the weight gain is just one of many symptoms associated with perimenopause. And some of those symptoms, like I said before, they're more obvious, like the belly fat that hangs on our waist, especially over the 40s, even if you've never carried it there before. And the reality is that if we don't understand what's happening and we don't take very intentional steps in our 40s, that weight gain can be that visible reflection or manifestation of an internal struggle that is flat out just not that fun. Give me an amen in the comments if you have been experiencing it and you're like, this part ain't so fun, right? If I could shift it, knew what to do, I would do it. You just need some guidance on it, right? I'm realizing that you can see if you're on my, if you're in my Facebook community or in my live, this is my part of my vision for Kingdom Fit Enterprises. So the point that I want to share with you today, like I said, is the shifts, the symptoms, and solutions. And I'll share a little bit about my experience, really so that you know that you're not alone. Because I know that when I was in the hearts, kind of, I want to say like the inferno of the symptoms a few years back, before I started learning some of the things I'm going to share with you about testing and tweaking, it really felt like, oh my gosh, am I going crazy? What is wrong with me? There are moments where you feel like it's like this out of body experience. I also experienced extreme adrenal fatigue at the time. So it was like this massive storm as a fit pro that was being consistent with my workouts, being consistent with my nutrition, doing all the other things the same, my personal quiet space with God. And yet there was this like raging war in my body. Give me a war in your body if you have felt like that some days, where you're like waking up and you're drenched in sweat and you like have to change that side of the bed. If there's any guys that happen to be popping on today, then you know it's probably TMI for you, but that's why we're talking to the ladies today, and that's who I get to share and love on. And just having, you know, erratic mood swings, a lot of different things. And so being able to dive deeper into, even though I was leading a fairly healthy lifestyle and I still experience this really unexpected weight gain, how to shift that. Fair enough? So one of the things that I want to jump in, actually two things, for those of you that are in the Facebook community and you're watching this, whether you're watching live or replay, we are doing the raffle again this week. So for those of you that are watching, you might as well be commenting and engaging. I'm going to pull a winner. We're going to do a raffle this week. You have through this Saturday at noon to comment, to be engaged. Y'all know I'm going to reward those that are actively engaged and involved. And I also know that it helps you pay more attention, which means you'll get more out of it, which means you'll learn more. Fair enough. Quick shameless plug. I'm going to also extend an invitation for you to join me next week in the 2024 Kingdom Fit Weight Loss Workshop. That workshop is not free. You have to be registered. Spots are limited. It is a hands-on workshop where I'm going to walk you through clear strategies to build your nutrition plan and your habit plan. So by the end of the workshop, you have a plan in place for you that is personalized and you are excited and ready to implement. And then if you're ready, or if you are wanting to have that support and accountability and implementation, then the next step after the workshop would be to invite you into the Kingdom Fit Weight Loss program that starts this January as well. So let's start with the shifts. Discussing the hormones, I'm going to discuss the hormones a little bit and how our hormones shift so that it makes some sense to you. I don't know about you, but when I understand kind of the logic behind it, it helps give myself grace. It helped me understand that, okay, there are certain things that are chemically going on with my body that I can do all of these supportive tactics, but they're still happening. So there is an aspect of it that I get to express even greater self-compassion for myself. So if it's okay with you, again, I'm not going to try and go into a huge deep dive into the hormones, but I want to give you a really high level understanding of the hormones as I understand it. And then we'll talk about the symptoms and the solutions. And from there, you'll have what you need to make some differences. All right. So to simplify, our key hormones, estrogen and progesterone, have this symbiotic dance, is what I'm going to call it, in our bodies from the time that we're little. And it's a dance that our body kind of becomes accustomed to. It gets in this rhythm. And over the years, that then turns into our hormone cycles. And our hormone cycles for most of us are regular. Now, I also have PCOS, and that was I should say my body has PCOS. I was diagnosed with that in my mid-20s. They finally figured it out. It wasn't as commonly recognized back then. Being 50, that was over 20 years ago. And so there are some dispositions that lead this balance to be a little bit off to begin with. But for the most part, you have a cadence that your body follows throughout your lifetime. And part of that is this kind of running flow of estrogen, and then it goes down a little bit as you start your actual cycle and as you start your, I should say, menstruation. And then as you start the menstruation, your progesterone goes up a little bit, as I understand it. And that's what creates the process of being fertile and ovulation and all of those things. So now with that, what changes as we get older is that those estrogen levels start to get dysregulated by our nature. Like, this is a normal human process. And also things like our lifestyle choices, stress can have an impact on that as well. But that dysregulation, the disruption of how our estrogen and how our bodies are used to managing the flow of estrogen, the ups and downs of the estrogen, and the kind of like the spikes and the regulation of the progesterone, as those start to shift, that's where these symptoms show up. The challenge is that a lot of this can be largely, I don't want to say minimized. Minimized might be the right word in terms of the shifts, but the symptoms themselves can be helped. Regulated is a word that I want to use really cautiously, because I don't know that you can regulate them, but you can help yourself feel better, not experience the extent of them as you used to. Let me give you an example as I'm trying to spell out the words. I definitely, before I understood some of the tweaks that I'm going to share with you today, I would wake up in full body sweats some nights. And this is the thing to understand about menopause also, is that, or perimenopause, is that there's also, and I'm not going to try and go down the, doctorate view of why this happens and why the hormones shift the way they do or what have you, but it is normal to have a few days of really bad night sweats, and then they go away for a period of time. And then they come back to have really bad night sweats, and then they go away. Whereas when I went through a stage where I had white night sweats that were so bad, it was to the point where I'm completely drenched, and it's like, if you know, you know. It's for me, it is like almost TMI to be sharing on all of my social media stages, but it is like, and there was nothing I could do about it. It was to the point where you'd want to get out of bed, take your clothes off, change your clothes, change the sheets, and of course, only lay down, trying not to wake up my husband, and laying down the sheets on my side so that I could sleep, try to get back to sleep in a dry bed. It was that bad. To where now, if I am experiencing quote unquote a night sweat, it's like I get really hot, I might need to change a shirt, and or there's other ways to work around the whole sweating thing so it doesn't get like that. It's not as significant. So I still get, I would say, variations of hot flashes, but the ebb and flow, the spike, the height of it is no longer like full on drenched laid out. Does that make sense? If that is landing, type landing in the comments as you're watching live or replay. Big Pharma does not want to talk about how much can be done with natural solutions, because as with anything, Big Pharma, I should probably be cautious to my words because of social media, robots that want to say misinformation. But when the simplest way to explain this is that when you follow the money trails, Big Pharma does not get more Big Pharma if the solution is something other than some sort of medication or hormone replacement. I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for medications or hormone replacements or whatever it might be. But what I believe in and what I teach my clients is there are so many natural approaches to our health that we get to test and try and implement, either instead of in preventing the medication route for anything you might be experiencing, and or as you're taking medication, but sometimes it's gotten to the point where you need to take that medication to minimize whatever it is showing up, and at the same time create natural solutions. Kind of like, again, no judgment from me whatsoever. Hey guys, love the waves as you guys are joining. Type live, type replay if you catch the replay later. For example, like a medication, like a depression medication or anxiety medication. This is my opinion. There's no judgment. I took depression medication, 20 years ago when I was in a horrible spot. And I, even looking back now, knowing what I know now, I was so deep in that depression, I really needed pharmaceuticals to help the chemical rebalance of my brain, while also learning what natural things and how to lean into God and doing those types of things to better recognize and regulate the thoughts that were creating the emotions and the beliefs that were creating this experience of feeling depressed. Making sense? So same thing when it comes with hormone replacement. I am not here to say don't do the hormone replacement. I am here to encourage you to be your own advocate and look into these natural solutions so that you know that you're making an empowered decision. And when you do these natural solutions consistently over time, and if you're still experiencing things that, either medically or just aren't comfortable, then look at the medication route. And or if you're in just like, I can't handle it anymore, I could definitely see where I could have been tempted at one point in the midst of all of this of just like, give me something, give me drugs, just so I can manage it well enough while I figure out better coping devices or different nutrition or what have you. But I just really want to encourage you to try the natural solutions, either before going on a medication or in conjunction with the medication, so that ideally you can either reduce or completely come off medications in some instances. And again, that doesn't apply just to perimenopause, that applies to anything. So let me talk about, so that's essentially what is happening, is that your body is going through a significant change. And so that is the shift, is that your hormones are going through a significant change as we naturally age. And like we said, lifestyle choices and stressors can amplify the direction and the big swings. They're also going to be, everyone's going to experience it differently from what I understand and from the reading I've done. So there can be massive swings in moods. There can be massive swings in joint aches, some of the symptoms that we're going to talk about, and then they could subside for a little bit and then come back again. So this ebb and flow, it feels like you're on a roller coaster. Just understand that there is something hormonally going on with you. It isn't that you're crazy, and there are ways to support helping regulate that process. The symptoms that I want to share with you guys is not just only the weight gain, but the list of symptoms is actually crazy long. Just about anything you could possibly think or feel, they say is somehow on the list of perimenopause or menopause. But I'm going to go over the kind of the highlights that I know I experienced, and some of them are less common. So definitely the weight gain. For me personally, like at the time when this started, I was definitely highly driven, which stress is a big thing. And we'll talk about that when we get into causes. But I was so highly driven, highly ambitious. I think a lot of us put a lot of pressure on ourselves. I know a little bit something about you because the women I attract are powerful, driven women that have a heart for God and a purpose, right? So family, and actually, a couple years into a blended family, my husband and I have been together for 10 years, married now 8 years, and we brought kids in. It was like so many, started running 2 physical locations for my fitness business with the help of an amazing team, but still running 2 physical locations. I was running Spartan trifectas. I was running marathons. I was training all of these things. And yet my body wasn't responding the same way. And so my weight started to creep up. So even though my diet was clean, quote unquote, as a lifestyle, that's how I rolled at the time. Even then, my weight started climbing up, and it was slowly but surely coming up to the point where I ended up being a close to 16, 20 pounds higher, and I'm only 5'1", so that's a lot of weight on a 5'1" body. When I was pregnant with my son, part of my story is I gained 65 pounds. My son was only 8 pounds, 10 ounces. He was 4 weeks early, so he was a big baby, and I'm glad that he was early, but he definitely can't take responsibility for my 65-pound weight gain. That was fork to mouth, a lot of fork to mouth. And because I had built that habit, I didn't just drop the weight when I had him. Took a time and process, which I'm super grateful for that, because that's also one of the things I get to teach forward. But in this season and time when the weight started coming back on, everything else was fairly consistent. So the shift was in the hormones, the shift was in a couple of other things we're going to talk about, but honestly, the weight gain wasn't even the most frustrating for me. Part of it was brain fog, massive mood swings. I would wake up in the middle of the night with severe, and this was when my adrenals shut down as well, but massive joint pain, like to the point where it would wake me up in the middle of the night in near tears and trying to find all these natural solutions to not be in so much pain. Other symptoms, I didn't experience high blood pressure, but that is a fairly common one. Headaches, definitely get those. Forgetfulness, urinary incontinence. That's really hard for me to identify for me because I eat or drink so much water. But those feelings were like, you feel like you're almost going to pee your pants. So just keep it real. I'm talking to my ladies that need the help. And or increased anxiety or panic, when you feel that anxiousness in your chest and it really is almost unexplained. For me, like I said, I went through several of those symptoms, but when I dive into a little bit deeper today is the weight gain and how to get rid of that stubborn belly fat. Before I get into the solutions of the weight gain, if you guys are ready to move on and talk about weight gain, type weight in the comments, or let's type a better word. Let's type lose it for good in the comments. But before I want to get into the weight loss solutions, I really want to emphasize this for you, and that is the importance of managing the extra weight. Again, whether it's over 40 and you've gained this weight unexpectedly, or you know that you have habits that you need to shift, that you can do better with your food, that you can move more, that you can do things, you know that you get to do more in terms of taking care of yourself, regardless of what that falls into. I truly, you will hear me say this over and over again, having a rockin' body is an amazing side effect. What is more significant is understanding that to the extent in which we carry extra weight is to the extent in which we are amplifying our risk for disease. It's not just about fitting in those skinny jeans or feeling amazing in that dress. It's about aging well. It's about maintaining functionality well into our 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's about being self-sufficient as we grow older. I don't know about you, but I want to be rocking, talking, functioning, working out, chasing after great grandkids into my 90s. And if you want to be doing that too, and you want to have full cognition, those of us that know we're created on purpose for unique and greater purpose, you aren't just getting by in life, you are having an impact. And you get to be the steward of that impact, whatever it is for you, whether it's your family or a community or this massive outreach, you get to be doing that. And in order for you to steward that well, you have to start with stewarding yourself well. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You cannot ignore yourself and expect to still continue to be healthy in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Quick tangent on that. Every once in a while, I'll run into a woman who feels like, well, I've been praying about it, or I've been doing this, or whatever. Sister, do not over spiritualize it. Yes, I talk about like Kingdom Fit is all about inviting God into the process. It's my Kingdom Fit method integrates God's word, including prayer and practical strategies and all of these things. And also, he's not going to show up and do it for you. You get to be an active participant. If you aren't doing your part, if you aren't making the choices that align with your highest good, and it can be so redonkulously hard because as much as God has a plan for you, there's an enemy that has a plan for you too. And he would love nothing more for you to stay uncomfortable in your body, distracted by food, fixated on how you're feeling in your body. He would love nothing more than keep you stuck there or distracted just enough so you can fly under the radar. And yet, you get to rise up. You get to choose to do your part. And if you're struggling to do it on your own, then you get to choose to lean into supportive accountability, coaching, and mentorship because you get to live that abundant life. You get to have the body that you feel amazing in, and the impact, and the family, and the finance. Like you get to have it all because God's word says that based on what the talents that you have been given. Only if you do your part. Only if you choose to, I was going to say, like call out the lies of the enemy, which that's a whole nother story that I don't want to go into the tangent. I think that One of the biggest schemes of the enemy is to convince you that self-care is selfish. As Priscilla Schreier would, I'll use her term for a second. If I were the enemy, I would convince you self-care was selfish, knowing that you can only give your best if you're at your best. If I were the enemy, I would convince you that being overweight is normal, and I'd normalize it in society by, in the United States, over 70% of everyone, all people are overweight. And yet, to the extent in which you are carrying extra weight is to the extent that you are at greater risk of type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, hormone. This is the other importance of especially the belly fat. Hormone sensitive cancers. The more body fat you have, the more risk you have for developing them. The being able to care for your body, reducing inflammation. When we live in a constant state of inflammation, you have even greater risk of not just the cancers, not just the diabetes, but our brain health, Alzheimer's, neurological diseases. This is like, I'm telling you, having a rockin' body is a side effect of caring for yourself, and it's amazing, and there's no worries if that is your goal. And also, that's just a reflection of you caring for yourself. It is so much more important and more significant than feeling amazing in your jeans. And that's what we need to be talking about. Because I know I want to be aging gracefully, and I'm sure you do too. Your decisions that you make today decide your future health. And so a little piece of my heart breaks every time a woman says, I'm too busy, or I've got this going on, or I've got that going on. I'm telling you, sister, you will either, and I'm not here trying to convince you, because if I have to pull you in, I have to pull you along, and it's not my jam. So if someone, when I'm messaging and I'm talking to someone and they're super resistant, like they're too busy, they don't have time, this is wrong, that's wrong, like you get to be in a place where you're willing to take responsibility. And hopefully it doesn't take some poor medical report or something along those lines for you to wake up. Because if you don't slow down if you do not slow down to experience this and create space for yourself now, something will happen and it will force you to slow down. We all know that when you have to, you do. Because we've all experienced the virus that's gone around one time or another over the last several years. And in the beginning, everything shut down. In the beginning, if someone got sick with it, they were out for 10 days, 14 days, isolation. You didn't have a choice but to slow down. So if you can do that, you can take care of it doesn't even have to take oodles and noodles of time. We're going to talk about that more in the Kingdom Fit Weight Loss Experience workshop next week. But let me give you the overview on solutions. So taking care of yourself is an optimal must. We talked about that. We talked about slowing down to speed up. I can't go into detail of every single one of them, but let me give you the highlights. And I'm going to cherry pick a couple to go into more detail with. First thing to take action on is get more steps in. I will tell you also, I was guilty of this. I did not realize, not in the very beginning, but over the last couple of years, especially after the whole shut down in the United States, and I transitioned from a brick and mortar fitness business where I saw people every day and I'm in every day and I had amazing teams. I wasn't even necessarily teaching sessions at that point in time. Actually, I wasn't teaching sessions at that time, but I was moving and out and about all the time. And then I went to 100% online and did not realize until after the fact how dramatically my movement slowed down. We hear a lot of talk about how your metabolism slows down as you age. Sister, maybe. And also, maybe you're not moving as much as you did when you were 5 years younger, 10 years younger, 3 years ago, post the whole pandemic, right? So be mindful of your walking. Aim to get steps in. Start paying attention to how much you're stepping now, and just set a goal of increasing that step count every week or every 2 weeks. Increase it by 10%. Don't try and hit some huge goal that you just haven't yet figured out. Like, habit stack it, build it in. Take 10 minutes in the morning, get a walk in. Take 10 minutes in the afternoon, or start with 10 minutes in the morning and practice that for a week. Then next week, add 10 minutes in the afternoon. Instead of, parking next to the store, park further away. There are tons of ways to get more steps in that really take very little time. And as you start acclimating, then you start building them in, then you start feeling good, and then you start wanting to go. Practicing or doing resistance training. So if you are on my Instagram account, you will know that I love to lift. I do love, it's one of my mental releases. It's not just about the physical body for me. It's a huge mental release for me too. And there are so many reasons for women to pick up some heavy weights, but that is not the point of today. The point of today is for you to move. So even if you don't want to go to a gym, I did not want to go to a gym when I first started either. I was scared. I was intimidated. I assumed everybody was looking at me. One of the things I would tell all my clients when they started at the brick and mortar fitness business that I owned was that first day, when you come in, you're going to sit in your car, you're going to have a panic moment, you're going to think about, what did I do? I don't know what I'm doing. Everybody's going to be staring at me. And let me tell you, whether you're going into some boutique gym or you're going into a big corporate gym with all the machines and all this kind of stuff, 9 times out of 10, people are too worried about themselves to be worried about you. If you find the right boutique gym, they are there to love on you, support, and encourage you. It's probably one of the best places you can connect with. If you're in one of those big corporate gyms, I promise you, most of the like kind of OG, if you want to say, like gym goers, they want to support, they want to help. They're just so focused on their workout. But if you have a question or you need something, most of them are going to be kind and respectful. And those that aren't, what's the Dr. Seuss quote? Those that mind don't matter and those that matter don't mind, right? That is 100% true. The third, so the first was walk, get more steps in. The second was resistance training. The third is practicing mindfulness. And this one was huge for me. So for those of you, 20 years of my walk with Jesus, I have had quiet time. I've had prayer time. I'm a huge fan of that. I've been talking about it for years. What was different for me over the last several years was really understanding how to get still in that time and what that looked like. And that has then evolved into a more focused, especially over the last 6 months to a year, of meditation. God's word says meditate. It's not going against his word. I think sometimes we look at some forms of meditation, and I'm sure there's good and bad in everything. However, this is a mindfulness, a stillness, really learning how to rest your body and how to better manage stress. For my high achieving Christian sisters, we get it done. We are the way makers. We are the go-to person for everyone else around us. And we just keep going, and that's why they keep coming. And also, if you are not taking space to slow down, to recognize what's going, you can't continuously run. You get to create that space to create the meaning or the mindfulness in the slowing down so that your body can better regulate the hormones that are coming up when you're running at stress. Your body was not designed to run at high levels of stress, cortisol, 24/7. So you get to find new ways to really get mindful, really manage the stress levels. I don't have these numbered. I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth is prioritizing sleep. Establishing a sleep routine is critical. Sleep is one of the most important things. I shared on this the other day, but when I am in a crazy busy season, there are 5 things that I do to keep up my self-care. I'm not going to go through them now. But the number one thing that I prioritize is protecting my sleep. Now, thankfully, I get to have a flexible schedule. So if I am having a day where ideally you have a set sleep routine. You train your body to go to bed at whatever time and wake at whatever time. You work to getting 7 to 9 hours sleep. That's going to be a little bit different for everybody, but most studies say that your body will do best. That's when we rest, repair, and recover. It's how God designed us to go into these sleep cycles. And that 7 to 9 hours of sleep gets to be protected. Now, I have a lot of flexibility now, but so if for some reason there's something that I'm working on that has a deadline and I need to stay up, then I do now. I'm not like a old school, like have to get up every day at 4 a.m. For the most part, I do get up every day at 4 a.m. But if something happens the night before to where I'm on a deadline, something I am choosing to get done, and I'm up a little bit later, then I'm going to push that back to 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever it is, never really later than 6. But on the occasion that I do that, so that I get that 7 to 9 hours of sleep, because there is nothing more critical. That is the foundation of optimal health, is your sleep. And it's like the chicken before the egg, because it's your sleep, it's the food. There's so many other factors that play into you being able to be at your best and show up at your best. Staying hydrated. Proper hydration is vital. If you have and I get this sometimes too, and I drink a lot of water, but puffy, baggy eyes is another symptom of dehydration. So if you're waking up in the morning, you've got puffy, baggy eyes, you may or may not be getting enough water. So look at how much water you're getting in. There's a lot of different calculators on there. Most of them say now 50% of your body weight. That's for a pretty inactive person. I will tell you that I have pretty much lived by a gallon a day as an active female for the last 20 years. And that's what's worked for me, and that's what works for the clients. And then the last, but definitely not least, is changing up your nutrition. So as I mentioned, when I started experiencing this, my nutrition was already pretty clean, but I really got to lean in. And this is true for those of you, remember we talked in the beginning about two types of women. There's the women that are going to be watching this that have weight to lose, that you get to clean up your nutrition habits, you get to move more. And there's those of you that have, you're messaging me, you're working out the same as you've always worked out. You have, quote unquote, fairly clean eating habits is what a lot of you will say, right? And yet the weight is changing and the weight is coming on. I wish I could give you a one-stop answer, but this is where testing and tweak, as you get closer, if you're the one that is currently active and you're currently doing what you think to be clean eating, you could be eating all good foods. I was eating all good foods also. But clearly there is something going on. And that's where it's not a one size fits all solution. It's getting an advocate, getting a coach that you can trust that has experiential knowledge for their own state of being, and also in helping others do the same, which would be. And I'm honestly not tied to whether you work with me or somebody else, but I am tied to you looking and feeling your best, because when we are at our best, we give our best. And I truly believe that our health and our well-being is that tide that rises all ships. So if you aren't able to do it on your own, so many women, especially high achievers, will feel like I should be able to do this on my own. Well, 2024 gets to be a year where you stop shoulding on yourself and invest in yourself for mentorship, for coaching, so that you can create that breakthrough, so that you can see the blind spots, just like you would in any other aspect of life. Your health and your well-being, you're not supposed to be an expert in it, right? So that comes down to more detail. If you have nutrition to clean up, if you've got, 30, 50, 75 pounds to lose, then it honestly it doesn't need to be about the details. It gets to be a little bit more simpler, but either way, the same protocols of where to start to test and tweak align for both. So we're going to be talking about that in the Kingdom Fit weight loss workshop next week. Because here's the reality, ladies, the too busy, all of these things, we only allow ourselves to tolerate those excuses from ourselves when we aren't real with ourselves about what it is costing us to carry that extra weight. Whether it's 20 pounds or 50 pounds, it affects us all differently. If you are tolerating that additional weight and you've been tolerating it for a long time, what that is likely a reflection of is that you have normalized what it's costing you to be there. So for example, if you are 50 pounds overweight, how is that impacting, whether it's 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds, how is that impacting your everyday life? How is that impacting how you feel, how you show up? How many times during the day are you distracted by food? Are you feeling low in energy? Are you experiencing brain fog? How many times in a month or a year are you finding yourself getting sick? That's a thing. What is it costing not only you, but what is it costing those that you love the most? I will use myself as an example. When I first went from feeling uncomfortable in my body and struggling with food and all of those things, as great of a mom as I thought I was at the time, I did not know what I did not know. Once I got healthy and fit, I realized there was a whole new level of awesome mom. Once I got healthy and fit, I realized that I had also, in the very beginning, taken a step back in careers during a very ugly divorce. We were in a financial setback too. However, when I got healthy and fit, I unlocked doors and opportunities because of the confidence and the health and the stature and the presence that I carried into every room, and the work ethic and all the other things too, that I never even knew were possible, but it was unlocked because I chose to decide to no longer tolerate that feeling of discomfort in my body. But if you've been tolerating that feeling of discomfort, if you've been tolerating the distractions, if you've been tolerating the morning, challenge war, closet war of the size that fits and the size that taunts you, and you're starting your day that way every day, you've normalized that. And so you get to spend some time to get real with yourself, not to sit in condemnation or self-hate. You get to love yourself and love the experience because it has served you in some capacity, and also decide. You do not condemn yourself. You do not beat yourself up. You're not going to be able to move forward if you do that, but you do get to decide to rise up. You get to decide to be uncommon. You get to decide that you will not be a statistic. You get to decide that you will not be what society has normalized and how you are showing up every day and what you are tolerating in your physical well-being for yourself and what you're saying, oh, it's just part of getting older. No, it's not. It's part of getting older in the United States because it's been normalized. It's part of getting older in the United States because of it being normalized. It's part of your family history because it's been normalized. It's part of whatever because they've normalized that. But you aren't created to be normal. You, sister, are a kingdom daughter. You were created on purpose with a unique and greater purpose. You are called to higher. You are called for more. You get to be doing your part. You get to stand and rise up, and it takes active participation for you to do that in every aspect of life, starting with your health and well-being. In the Becoming Kingdom Fit training series, which is still up in our Facebook community group, day 1, I talked about the missing foundation for our health and well-being, and it ties back to our personal relationship with God and how we're caring for our body even impacts our ability to be in relationship with God himself. Your physical body is the regulator for all other experiences. So with that, I want to invite you into next week's workshop, the 2024 Kingdom Fit Weight Loss Workshop. You do have to be registered for it. I said in the beginning, that one is not a free workshop because we are going to work, and I want to have your time and your attention, and the spots are limited so that I can also make sure that I'm giving you personalized attention while we're in the workshop and through some of the follow-up Q&A that we're going to be experiencing for the few days that follow. So you can either join live or watch replay. The live is on January 3rd, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I want you to imagine, truly close your eyes for a second, slow your breath. And really imagine, unless you're driving, then do this later, but imagine what it feels like and what it looks like for you to be comfortably slipping into that size that you've secretly been hoping to get back to, but have not been able to for years. What does that feel like? Is it pure joy? Is it almost, I can't believe this is really happening? I've had so many clients say, I never thought I'd get back to that size. And yet here they are. Feeling certain, imagine feeling certain that this is the last before photo. This goal that you're setting for January 2024 gets to be the last time you take quote unquote before pictures, because you know that you've finally discovered the method and the tools for keeping the weight off. And you know that it fits your lifestyle, so you know it's doable. Imagine having that level of confidence and certainty. Imagine being able to go to bed at night feeling grateful, feeling proud, knowing that you've come so far that you no longer feel tempted or triggered by certain types of foods. If you want the food, you eat it. You eat it mindfully. You choose to enjoy it, period. No food guilt, no self-sabotage. What if 2024 is the year that you finally step into that rockin' body that you desire, without pills, without products, or giving up your favorite foods, even over 40, even though you're super busy? I'm telling you, sister, it is 100% possible. 2024 can be your healthiest, fittest year yet. You get to be an active participant to achieve it. So in the workshop, what I'm going to share with you is that in order to get a different result, you must choose to do things differently. Most people starting out this year will start out with resolutions. 80% of resolutions fail by February. 65% of dieters regain pre-diet weight. So your next solution is not a resolution and it is not a diet. You cannot keep doing what most people do and expect a different result. You cannot keep doing what you have done and expect a different result. So no more resolutions, no more diets. In this workshop next week, I've already invited incredible Christian women. You're going to love these ladies to this workshop, and we want to invite you. You're going to learn how to create the 90-day weight loss flexible food plan that feels realistic, not restrictive. You're going to learn how to set up your environment that nourishes healthy habits. You're going to learn how to master eating out so that you can eat out and not feel like you have to eat from home all the time, but being able to eat out without the guilt or belly bloat. You're going to learn how to create not resolutions, but empowering goals and mindset shifts that allow you to start excited and then carry momentum forward. We're going to talk about micro habits for micro wins and how those micro wins lead to sustainable big results. And then we're going to talk about how to maintain the momentum despite life's curveballs. Whether you're busy or life's throwing dynamics at you that you weren't expecting, that is where the rubber meets the road. That is the difference between learning a diet and learning how to maintain a lifestyle. So by the end of the workshop, you will have a personalized plan and feel eager to start it. So if that's for you, then comment goals below and I'll make sure you get the details of that. You were not created to be a statistic. You were created to be set apart. You are a kingdom daughter. You get to be powerful and impactful, and you get to be this woman of God and have the body you really want. So I'm going to invite you into that workshop. Full transparency, the workshop is going to give you that personalized plan. You're going to be excited to start it. And then those of the select few of you that seem to be a good fit for the Kingdom Fit Weight Loss Experience January cohort, you'll be invited to apply for that as well. But first step first, you'll walk away from this workshop having the plan in place and the motivation to get started. And then if you choose and you seem like you'd be another amazing woman to invite into our community, then we'll talk about the Kingdom Fit Weight Loss Experience where you have that support, accountability, deeper dive into all of the things to make sure that you are encouraged, inspired, and keep your momentum going. Fair enough? So comment workshop below to get access to the workshop. And as always, type live if you watch the live, type replay if you watch the replay. I'll be picking the winners for the raffle Saturday afternoon. And I think that's it for now. Bye, guys.